Thank you for joining. I really appreciate it. I know it's been a long day for everybody, but hey, we're talking about something fun today. It's sales funnels time. This should be really fun and engaging. A bit about me. I help businesses grow, scale, and enter into new markets. I do it primarily with automation and also with sales funnels. I'll be sharing with you my experience. I really wanted to keep this session as interactive as possible. So please stop me, ask questions. Let's keep it engaging, right? So we can get as much value out of it. Does it sound good, people? Does it sound like a plan? Can I get a yes in the chat? Thank you for the thumbs up. I'm loving the energy. Thank you. Can I get a yes from somebody in the chat? I want to make sure people are still awake and I'm not talking to myself. Amazing. Thank you, Sam. Amazing. Hell yeah. I love the energy. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's kick off. So I've got a packed agenda for us. We're going to get through it. Don't worry about it. So, but please stop me through and ask questions as we go along, right? First thing I wanted to cover, first of all, is the basics. What is a sales funnel, right? What is this thing called funnel, like what I use in my kitchen? So a sales funnel really is a framework or a series of activities that a business performs to turn strangers into customers, right? Think about it as ABC. It's as simple as ABC, essentially accelerating your buyer's commitment to your product. Yeah. Then you think about, so why is a sales funnel important in the first place? Like why have one? I've shown you just quickly as for a visual, this is what a sales funnel kind of looks like, right? So it's taking strangers, people that don't know anything about you, making them aware of you. It's like, hi, this is who I am, nurturing them through the pipeline, then working out how to convert them into customers, then delivering some value, working out how to retain them. And this step, the final step, is usually quite missed out, or most of the steps, right? Is what happens when they decide they want to move on from the process and they don't want to stay on anymore? What's the process for offboarding them? Because that again forms part of the customer experience, right? Because if you make it easy or as easy as you can for people to leave, then they're likely going to come back should their circumstances change. These are the 6 steps we're going to be covering in a lot of detail in today's workshop. I will try and cover as well metrics, tools, and step-by-steps how on what you need to do. Don't worry too much about taking notes. Take like notes of the main things, but I will send this deck to Samantha and Cecile, and they're also recording as well, but I'll much rather you're engaged and listening to me and asking me questions than scribbling and missing points. So yeah. Okay, why is it important to have a sales funnel? Like, is it just one more to-do items on my long list of to-do things to build a business? And I wanted to give you 4 reasons why it's valuable to have one, right? The first is it helps you automate and build predictable sales, right? You want to get to a point where you know, if I put X in, then Y is going to come out. So you can predict your revenue, predict what you have to do to get predictable result. That's why a sales funnel is useful, number 1. Number 2, it's a good way to build relationship. And as I said, accelerates the buyer's commitment, ABC, right? Think about it like dating the customer and courting the customer. You don't meet a stranger and be like, hi, stranger, good to meet you. By the way, do you want to get married? Right? Because you won't do that in real life. You don't want to do that to your customer, right? It's like, hey, customer, this is who I am. Then nurture them slowly, get them comfortable, get them to buy, and then work out how to keep them long-term. Similar to how we do relationships in real life. That's the second reason why. The third one is, once you have this customer, you want to work out how can I maximize the lifetime value of this customer? How can I make sure that I really get to know my customers so well? And I'm good at anticipating their demand so that I can sell more to my existing customers, because actually it's cheaper to sell to your existing customers that already know, like, and trust you than having to always go out to acquire a new customer every single time. So this is why, a third reason why the sales funnel is important, right? So if you think about like the examples that are given out there, like Disney or even Manchester United, they actually make more money from selling other auxiliary products than they do from match day, from the core product that they offer, right? So you make more money on the upsell, usually. The fourth one is around community building. So the more the funnel you have, the more you know who is in your world, who's in your ecosystem. You can start to build community, build trust, and really generate like user-generated content, and you build like a real following that humanizes your brand. These are 4 of some of the reasons why it's worth considering having a sales funnel. Does it all make sense so far? Thank you, Nazi. I really appreciate the thumbs up. Like, thank you. Okay. I wanted to also cover quickly like 5 key things that I think is worth having before you think about having a sales funnel. To my point earlier, when you're starting a business, there's so many things to do, right? And if you're not careful, you're constantly like getting stuff here and there. So I think it's worth clarifying what the prerequisites ideally would be before you start the sales funnel. The first one is you know clearly the problem you're trying to solve. I know it goes without saying, but it's so important. At least you know the pain point. Here's why it's important, because if at least you know the pain point of the customer, you know exactly what triggers you can pull on, you know what you can agitate. If you know, for example, like your customer is somebody that's stuck in a 9 to 5 job and really wants to get out, you know exactly what you need to animate in your marketing, in your language to get them to feel the pain more, take action. You really have to understand the problem. Yeah. And also understand what the competitors are doing, what kind of marketing tends to work in your space, what doesn't really work generally based on your observation of the marketplace. So at least have that. Second thing is clarity on the product you want to offer, right? Is do you know, again, what outcome is your product promising? Usually outcomes are aligned to 5 key things, right? Usually it's more money, more love, more health, more time, or more prestige. That tends to be the ballpark of what we're selling people usually. So it's what are you selling them? Are you clear on that? Are you clear on how long it'll take for them to get value? Have you given them some kind of, do you have some kind of guarantee of success? Usually people have objections that people have is, well, how do I know it's going to work for me? Or I read this, I read that. Do you have some kind of guarantee that makes people get over the edge? And also, are you clear on how much effort is required? These 4 things usually is the kind of thing you want to incorporate into your marketing statement anyway, or your tagline when you come to offer the product to the customers. These 4 questions really are the kind of questions people will have in their minds. So having that clear in your mind would be important. Step 2. Step 3, who do you want to sell to, right? Ideally, you already have your customer profile, your target market defined. Because again, when you come to say you want to run ads, or if you come to writing blogs or writing articles, so whether you're going to do it organically or do it by running ads, you need to know who you're talking to, because then you can personalize it and target it more accurately to that person. So that's important. Step 3. Step 4 is know yourself as a founder or your founding team. Do you guys have any unique strengths that you have that somebody else doesn't have? If, for example, you already have a large network, say of, I don't know, corporate recruiters or something, because that's your background, then how can you leverage that when you think about building your funnel, right? If you're already a very great public speaker, how can you leverage that when you come to building your funnel? Or whatever your own unique skills are, making sure you're clear on that, because we'll come to that in a minute and see how you can use your own skills that already come to you quite naturally and incorporate it into your marketing and your funnel. And then finally, number 5, ideally you found some kind of product market fit, right? I say this because sometimes we're all guilty of this. We try to use ads as a way to make a bad offer sell, right? Spending money on ads is not going to make your product sell any faster if the offer isn't great. So it's important that you're clear on the other 4 and you found some kind of product market fit. And now you're just using the funnel as a way to accelerate the momentum you already have, right? Does that all make sense so far on the 5 things that you ideally need to have before you start building a funnel? I think you guys can unmute as well. Talk to me, give me thumbs up, say yes in the chat. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. Cool. Okay. This is more, again, my caveats, like user warnings. I think it's so important to say these things, right? Because I think I already said the first one is ads do not replace product market fit. Ads are accelerators. They don't initiate your fit. Make sure you find the product market fit first as best as you can before you start trying to pump ads in. You can use ads as a way to test various products to see which one would work, but not as a way to initiate or to make offer work if it doesn't work. Sorry to belabor the point, but it's worth belaboring because this is where things tend to go wrong. Hence why I'm going over the point over and over again. Second thing is growth in general is going to require a lot of experimentation and testing. Expect to have to iterate as you get along, because there's no one magic bullet that would work. Is you try something, you get feedback from the market. Based on the experience and the feedback, you change one thing at a time, and then you try again. Right? But the core is that you understand the principles, which is what we're going to be going over in this session, that when you're testing in the light of time-tested principles, right? 5th thing I always recommend as well is, as part of this process, we'll talk about it as well in the session, it's worth you exploring what's currently the industry standards. What are your competitors already doing in the market? What kind of lead magnets, or what's their current go-to-market strategy? Where possible, actually go on your competitor's website and sign up and go through their funnel and see what the experience feels like in that funnel, because it's usually safer to copy first. I know this is probably not the most creative thing you're going to hear me say today, but it's the truth. We all copy. Even Mark Zuckerberg copies. Mark Zuckerberg just copied Twitter. we have threads. He just literally copied it and pasted it, right? So usually the safest strategy is to copy first, right? Test and experiment. And then based on your feedback from your customers and your product, you can then start to adapt and innovate. Yeah, but find what's already working and then adapt. Let's get into actions, right? The 7 key steps to build a funnel. Step number 1, we talked about product market fit. So if you're making a project plan, this is your project plan essentially. Number 1, find product market fit. And we talked about that. So that means who you're selling to, what you're selling to, and where best to reach them. You need to know that. Second thing is to choose your traffic sources that you want to get demand from. My recommendation is to limit it to 4 maximum. I think more than 4 is a bit too much quickly, too much to handle. Maybe also consider doing one as an online channel, one as an offline channel, and one of the platforms or sources as a community builder platform. What I mean by that is, from an offline perspective, for example, you could decide, hey, I'm a great public speaker, or given whatever your product, if your product, for example, lends itself well to it, you might want to consider, for example, finding conferences or speaking as one of your brand awareness strategies, right? Because you can go and get in front of the people that you want to buy your products. Because most products have fan bases around them, and most things that have fan bases have like actual physical meetings. So real life might be a way to build that. So you want to put that as part of your strategy. The third is around then planning what your lead magnets could be. We'll cover in detail as well the types of lead magnets you may want to consider. The fourth is thinking about once they come into your world, so you offer the lead magnet, they come into your world, what is the nurturing products or product or prospects that you can offer the customer? Usually it's something like a webinar or workshop or a low-cost product that you can offer them initially to test your services, right? It's low entry back, especially if you're selling a high ticket item. This might be useful. Think about like a Groupon offer, for example. You go on Groupon and you can buy like, say, a haircut for £5 or €5 or whatever. But when you go to the hairdresser salon for €5, what do? They try to upsell you different things, right? So you come in through this $5 offer, or you end up leaving and you spend like 500 or 50 or more with that seller because they've done a good job of keeping you in their funnel. The fifth is around you being clear on your core products, which we talked about already. Then thinking about the kind of upsells you want to sell, and then also creating the return path. So these are the things we're going to be covering in a lot of more detail in the coming slides, right? So it's these 7 steps. We're going to be doing a double click in each one of them. Okay, so you've seen this already, right? Just to reiterate it all starts with brand awareness. It all starts with, how do people, first of all, know that I exist and I'm here? How am I going to get the word out there to people? And as I said before, you may want to do it with social media, with real world stuff. Just want to get attention on your brand. At this point there, you're trying to convert them. Your sole goal is lead acquisition. You're trying to get them from being Mark Zuckerberg's customers or Elon Musk's customers who are using Twitter, and make them your potential customers, right? So you're trying to get them to give you their email address. And the way you probably want to do that is to offer them a lead magnet, a bait. Think about if you're offering a service, a discovery call, an audit, something along those lines, for you to get an email address is the goal at this first level. Does that make sense? Apologies, I just noticed the letters on the good shout, Nick. I was trying to update the letters on the left-hand side to be the starts, and I forgot to do the last 2. So apologies, I'll fix that in the handout slide. So the bottom 2 should say R and O. Well, good spot, Nick. You're paying attention. Love it. Thank you. The second stage then becomes your nurture stage, right? Is now you have email addresses of potential leads at this point. They're not yet your customers. At this point, people are at least curious enough to have come on your clickbait. So that means there's an interest there. It's now the task here is to get them to activate, get them to like purchase your core offering. That is the next task. And you do that by warming them up by, this is where, the famous line of it takes 7 touch points for somebody to be willing to do business with you. It's really at that point there, this nurture point, right? So you're trying to give them at least 7 or more touch points in as short a time as you possibly can, so they can get to know your brand, know what you're selling, and gain the confidence to pull the trigger and buy your services or your product. Of course, this period depends on the type of item you're selling. If you're selling something that's very much an impulse purchase, that's very low ticket, then it might be a very short time. It's like they become aware and they just buy because there's nothing to think about. It's a low ticket item. But the higher the price point, the longer the time you might spend in the nurture phase. Then we move on to the conversion phase, right? At this point now, you've now gotten this customer to pull the trigger, get their money out and buy your product. Once they purchase your product, that's where most of the work now starts. It's now on you, ideally as part of the funnel, to work out how best you can retain this customer. And most of that's going to be on your ability to understand the customer's behavior, really profile them properly, so you can start to anticipate what their future demand is likely going to be, and you're ready for it. The fourth step then becomes your delivery. So now they're now your customer, you've profiled them beautifully, you know exactly what they're doing and how they're going to use your services. You now need to work on how you're going to deliver on the promises you made at the point of sale. This here is where the switch happens. I'm going to show you on this actually in less than 10 minutes. At delivery, you're focusing on like, how do I make sure that all the promises I made of all the fancy things I told them I was going to give them, I'm giving it to them, and I'm also giving it to them in as short time as possible. So time to value for the customer, you want to give them you want to make it as short as it possibly can be, so they get the first aha moment as quickly as they possibly can, right? Because your goal at this stage is to get them to give you a referral, right? To refer their friend or to give you a review, so that that cycle can keep perpetuating itself. And then the fifth stage is around retention. So this customer has now been using your product, they're happy, they've given you a referral or reviews or both. Now you're thinking, okay, based on the knowledge I have of this customer, how can I keep them in my ecosystem? How can I make sure they keep buying more and more products from me? Right? You can maybe looking to introduce a loyalty scheme, or looking to upsell them into a higher ticket item than what they're currently on. And then finally, the offboarding, right? Is if for whatever reason they have to leave, what's the plan around that? Are you going to have a downsell option? So they can, because if, first of all, someone decides, hey, I want to leave, I want to get offboarded, what's the service? Are you going to ask a question around like, why do you want to leave? If it's price, would you have a downsell, or would you refer them to a cheaper partner, a cheaper competitor that you now have a partnership with, right? Or would you, for example, ask them, is it because you're moving location, in which case you can make a note and say, you're moving away for 1 year, I'm going to keep you on my email system and run an email campaign to keep you warm, so that 1 year from now, when you're ready to come back, we can reacquire you. So these are the key steps in the process. And as you probably may have noticed, as I was describing those steps, right, it's not so linear all the time. It's more of a flywheel. This sales funnels are more cyclical and a flywheel than they are linear, right? So if you think about what I said, right, you first of all acquire the customer. You have about 7 touch points. It could be more, it could be less, but on average, 7 touch points to get them to be activated or qualify them. And then you do the conversion, right, of the customer. And once they're converted and they're happy using your product, you're then looking for them to give you a referral or a review. And once you get the review, you're then going back with this new customer and taking them all through the chain again, right? And with this existing customer you have here, you're looking for ways to drive repeat purchase. And every time that you think there's something else you can sell to them, you're having to requalify them. So you think, oh, for example, this customer, I think I can sell them. They've come on and they bought my online course, for example, is the product, right? But I think I can now offer them a one-to-one coaching experience with me as an upsell. You may want to first qualify them and make sure that they are eligible for this upsell, and then sell them that product and keep repeating that cycle on and on and on. Like, so 235, 235, 235, as long as you possibly can. And maybe one day they may decide they want to get offboarded or they want to move on. And if that does happen, then your focus then becomes, how do I reacquire this customer, right? So it's not always linear. It's cyclical throughout. Does that make sense? I see you nodding, Nazia. Thank you so much. Anybody else give me a yes or a no? Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, cool. So let's go into this table then, because I wanted to show you again all of this same stuff broken out even in more detail, so that it's so clear that everybody understands it and we're all on the same page. As we said, there's 6 key steps through the journey, right? One thing I wanted to point out is each of the steps kind of fall under different business functions. And it's important to know, especially as you scale, right? Especially when activities cross business function lines. Part of the reasons there's a breakdown in sales funnels is because communication breaks down, right? So your marketing guys have done all this great job marketing things, and they've told the customer all this cool stuff. And now the customer is pumped and is like, yes, get me on the discovery call. And they get on the call talking to sales, and sales has no idea what marketing has said in the ads, for example. So sales is saying something completely different, and the customer's like, what? That's not what I saw. No, thank you very much, right? Or Sales says something amazing to the customer, and the customer's like, yes, please sign me up, take my credit card. Like, I want to buy right now. And sales does a bad job of handing over to operations, right? And so there's a breakdown in communication. And so the customer comes on board, and right from day one, they're disappointed because what sales told them they were going to have, operations has no idea about it, right? So I've called out the business functions because I wanted to reiterate this point, right? Is as you grow your business, it may not be so much of a focus right now, being that you're still starting out, but bear that in mind, especially as you start to think about outsourcing things to different states or virtual assistant, is making sure the handovers happen all through the various steps. Step one. Step two is being clear on the goal for each step, right? Is a brand awareness. This customer is just trying to get to know you. You're not trying to make a sale at this point. All you want to do is get them to give you their email address. That's the goal for that step. Yeah. Same for nurture. You want to, at this point, you're then trying to get them aware, educate them, and get them to a point where they're ready to make the decision to buy from you, and on, as we've already previously covered. So I will not go over the other goals because I imagine you guys are all clear on that, unless I get a no. Does that make sense? Cool. For each step, again, the deliverable is slightly different, right? So if you're thinking about your brand awareness, you're thinking about what's the best lead magnet I could put in front of my customer, right? The best lead magnet will be based on what your core product is, right? So giving your core product, and we're going to do some examples in a minute. I just want to go through the theory first, and we're going to free about 20 minutes at the end for questions, and let's go deep into specific examples, yeah? But when you think about the lead magnet, a good lead magnet is as related as it possible. It's essentially the first rung on the ladder. Think about your product is taking a customer from point A to point B. The lead magnet will be an ideal first rung on the ladder towards that journey that you're taking the customer on, right? Then that's a brand awareness. At the nurture step, the key thing you want to have ready or deliverable you want to have prepared for that step is what will be your product for prospects, right? Or in e-commerce terms, what's your tripwire? So your product for prospects, if you're a service-based business, could be a workshop like this, a webinar, right? It could be, okay, I'm trying to sell you a business growth program, coaching program for 6 weeks. But instead of me getting you to sign up for 6 weeks immediately, I'm going to invite you on a webinar to come and learn about a specific topic and get the experience of working with me first. And then based on that, you could then hopefully be in a better position to decide on whether the core product offering is for you. So that's what you're thinking about here. It's so what is the next level on the rung that I can offer this customer for them to have more comfort about my services and get a taste of my products. And then at the conversion stage, you're converting the customer and selling them your core product. At this point, hopefully they now are very comfortable with who you are, what you offer. They've had a try of your product, and now they're ready to become a customer. So you give them the core product, but of course, part of your job is to profile the customer and to segment them correctly, right? Is to know if you know, for example, when you sign up to, say, a Canva, or you sign up to a project management software online, they'll ask you things like, what's your function in the organization? What do you plan to use the software for? Those questions are essentially done to profile you and put you in different categories, right? Because now they know what the core use case is likely to be for you. And based on your core use case, they can then know what's the best thing to upsell you to keep you in their well. At the deliver phase, you're focused on what is the shortest time to value I can give to my customer? How can I make sure that if they get the first aha moment as quickly as possible? So hopefully, as you hopefully maybe have realized, when we first started the workshop, I tried to give you this. I showed you this upfront so you could see quite quickly what we're going to be covering. So as quickly as possible, giving the customer something that gives them that moment of delight, and they're like, yes, at least I've got something, and they're happy. You want to make sure people are not waiting too long to get value from your services. Otherwise, we live in a microwave world, unfortunately. They're probably going to think, okay, no, this is not for me. I want to leave, right? So it's at the point of delivery, you're looking at your product, your offer, and thinking, what is the quickest win I can give this customer so that they're happy off the bat as quickly as I can, number one. And then at key moments of the customer journey, you want to ask them for referrals or ask them for reviews, right? But ideally, you want to time it at places where they're happy, right? At places where key value has been delivered, right? So if you join Canva, for example, when you do your first design on Canva, they'll tell you, oh, thank you for joining. If you want to refer a friend for XYZ discount. But usually they don't ask you to refer a friend until you've done something with the software. They try to make sure you're at least happy or have used it for something meaningful first before they ask you for the referral. So same logic here. And then at the retain stage, you now had this customer for a long time, right? You're now thinking, okay, based on the information I know of the customer that I collected during the profiling phase, what is the not logical next thing that I can sell this customer that would make sense so that I can keep them in my ecosystem? So what's the best upsell I can have? This kind of thing might come up by you either, again, this is why it's good for you to be part of your competitors' funnels. So you see what's the standard in the industry. It come from there. It could come from you talking to your customers by profiling them correctly, or it could be you just testing the market, right? You think they might want this stuff, so you can offer it to them. As we said previously, a sales funnel is more of a flywheel than it is a funnel. When you think you have an upsell, you go and you requalify the customer and you test to see if they are interested, and based on their interest, you will then be looking to sell them, right? So that's what you're doing here. And then finally, with the offboarding, you're looking at, like, again, making sure you have a downsell or trying to have a downsell for your core product, right? So that if people are leaving because of price, you have something cheaper that it could probably downgrade to if that's the problem. And ideally also having like some kind of email campaign ready or set up that you can send customers that choose to offboard. Think about like like Netflix. So when you say you want to cancel your Netflix subscription, they usually will ask you, right, is why are you leaving? Because of price. They would offer you a cheaper package if it makes sense, keep where you are. Or you tell them how long you want to freeze your membership for, because they give you the option to freeze the membership as well, right? So you can freeze it for, say, a set period of time, and then they'll reactivate you. Same principle here. And at various points as well, there are various like metrics you can track. And I actually advise you to look to track metrics that make sense for you at the various points, right? So at brand awareness point, people want to track the number of marketing leads, because at this point, these are marketing leads. They're not being qualified at all. So number of marketing leads you get per channel. And the idea of that is each channel that you're using, so the 3 to 4 channels you're using, you want to know which of these channels gives me the most leads, because at this point, you're not testing for quality, you're testing for quantity at this point, right? It's like, so which of these channels give me the most leads, what you're really testing for. And then at step 2, the nurture phase, is where you're really trying to qualify the leads. So you're doing the sales qualified leads. Which of the channels gives me the most qualified leads, right? So at this point, it's more of a quality check. And then at the conversion phase, you're trying to work out what's been the customer acquisition cost. So it's how much money on average have you spent to acquire this customer that you have. This is important to know, because then it tells you, suppose, what your overhead costs are. We're going to compare that in a minute to how much value you can extract from the customer. So if you know, for example, you have to spend about £50 or €50 to get a customer, then at the very least, you want to make sure the lifetime value of that customer is €50 plus something else, right? It can't be less than €50, because otherwise you're running at a loss. So it's important to know how much it costs you on average to get each customer through the pipeline. And then on the deliver step, we've got like lots of different businesses here, right? Some may not apply. One of the metrics to track if you're a SaaS, a software as a service business, is the user's average time per session, because you can track that on your app. You can see how often they open the app and how long they use it for if you're a software-based business. Second thing you may want to track is the time to value. How long does it take from the customer signing up to when they get the first deliverable or the first aha moment? It's worth tracking that. One of the goals would be to reduce that time over a period of time for yourself, so you can keep improving your product by reducing that period of time that it takes for the customer to get their first aha moment. The other thing we want to track is the reviews that you get, so the ratings of the reviews, like, so what's the quality of the reviews you're getting, what are people saying, of course, obviously, about it, and then the number of referrals the customers are looking to give to you. With the operations, the retention, you want to work out, like, so on average, what is the average lifetime value of my average customer over the period of time that they're with me? Because as we mentioned, when you know what a customer is worth to you, you can start to measure how much you're willing to spend in marketing to get that customer. If a customer is worth €10,000 to you, then maybe you're happy to spend 5K to get them. To somebody else, like 5K is way too much money to spend on a customer. But to you, because you know that customer is 10K, you're happy to spend 5K. Do you see? So it starts to inform how much you're willing to bid and spend on a marketing campaign. You may also want to track something like the rate of repeat purchases. So how often is a customer likely to repeat purchase from you? And based on that value, how quickly you can track what you can do to improve that process. And then finally, things like how often you tend to lose customers and how often you tend to regain them when they decide to leave. I've also put at the bottom here tools that you may want to incorporate in the process. But we'll talk about that in a minute when we talk about tools. I want to spend some time talking about brand awareness because this is important. So the brand awareness step, first rung of this whole sales funnel journey. And with brand awareness, there's talk of top of funnel and bottom of funnel and mid funnel. So you probably hear people say things like top full, waffle, and essentially it's top of funnel, middle funnel. And the thing to bear in mind is when people come into your world, they're probably going to be at 5 different stages of awareness. And you need to know what stage they are at. And based on the stage that they're at, know how to pitch your product to them. So the awareness stages broadly are unaware, like they have no idea that they have a problem, right? So for this kind of customer, there's a lot of educating the customer and getting them to a point where they know they have a problem and they're like willing to pull the trigger. So if you think about a career coach, for example, they're targeting somebody in a 9 to 5 that has been in a job for a long time, may want to consider changing to a different career. But this particular person they're targeting has no idea that it's a pain point, right? Because they've been there for such a long time and they don't think there's any need to switch. You may want to then say, for example, if that's the kind of person you're targeting, then most of the ads may be focused on things like, do you know you can get more money by changing jobs? Do you know if you stay in a career for like 20 years, you're not likely to get the same kind of pay rises as your counterparts that moves jobs? Top of funnel tends to be educational and it's a longer sale. Then you move them to a point where they're like, okay, I'm aware that I have a problem. I've been in this career for too long. Maybe I should think about moving. Wow, but I don't know what to do. So there's a problem, but I don't know how to solve it. Then they become aware, okay, to solve this problem, perhaps a career coach can help me with a CV. They can help me with interview skills. Maybe it's not as scary as it looks anymore. Then the next problem then becomes, okay, but which career coach? I go on LinkedIn, there's like thousands of them. Which one do I go for? And then they find a specific career coach that seems to be speaking to them, right? At this point, they're aware of the product. And then finally, they then spend a lot of time researching that specific career coach. And then at that point, that's when they're potentially going to be looking to buy. They're now aware of product, the solution, and they're comfortable that this person can solve it for them. That tends to be the journey people are going through before they buy your product. So being aware, I think, of the stage that the customer is in and the kind of mindset they're likely going to be in will hopefully help to inform the type of marketing you create. So knowing where your customer is likely to be, the state of mind they're likely to be in, informs how you write your ads, right? Or even when you write the ads or you write blogs or you write whatever, you have to ask yourself, which stage of the journey am I targeting this to, right? Before you create it. And also it informs the channel that you use as well. Because if, for example, you're targeting, say, top of funnel people that are unaware that they have a problem, then trying to do SEO optimization, optimizing your website is probably not ideal because they're not even searching for it. They don't even know they have a problem. So they're not even searching for it, right? So for those type of people, we want to do like Facebook ads, want to find like podcasts that they already listen to and find ways to like get in front of them and educate them on the problem. As they move more down the awareness ladder, then you can start to look more at things like SEO, look at things like, Google ads and that kind of stuff. Because I see people spending money on Google ads and trying to target people that don't know that they have because if they don't type it on Google, then they're never going to see your ads, right? That's why this is important. Then when we think about the types of lead magnets that you may want to consider having or putting in front of people, these are some examples of potential lead magnets or maybe even nurture tools that you may want to have, right? Is an ebook, for example, a free course, coupon code. Coupon codes are very popular with e-commerce stores, right? So if you think of stores, e-commerce stores, you go on the website and the first thing you see is subscribe to our newsletter for 10% off your first purchase, right? Or 50% off your first purchase as soon as you get on the website. The reason they do that is they know that people tend to get on the site, get bored and go off and do something else. So they want to capture your email address as quickly as possible before you go, right? So they capture your email address from you quickly and send you the coupon code. But they know that even if you forget to complete your purchase, they have you now and they can keep nurturing you until you're ready to make the purchase. I invite you to think about your business and think about which of these might make sense. Actually, let's do it now. Thinking about your businesses, you guys on the call right now, which of these would make sense for your businesses? Which of them, if it doesn't make sense, tell me which one. I'm going to explain more. Otherwise, have a look through that list. I think I put 14 in there.
I've decided on an ebook guide for mine.
Yeah, ebook guide. Yeah, Google ads are very expensive, Samato. Yeah, I completely. This is why when people spend money without knowing who they're talking to on Google ads, it really pains me, and that's why I was explaining that. But yeah, Nazia, that makes sense. Ebook guides. Cool. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else?
What would be good? What would be good for a marketplace where the customer is essentially uploading the content, so they're basically providing the product themselves?
So like a Fiverr, for example, right? To some degree, like you offering yourself. So
yeah, like Rightmove or Zoopla or
The kind of thing that Fiverr does, if you think about like a Fiverr or like a Zoopla, is they tell you things like 5 ways to get your property noticed on our platform, or 5 ways to take great photos for your property, 5 ways to, do you see what I'm saying? It's like, so it's a guide on how to market their products or market themselves properly.
yeah, okay.
Or it could be a trial, like sign up for a month free on our platform if they have to pay. I don't know if that's because with Zoopla, for example, you have to pay to put your property on there. So a free trial can be another one.
Would is like different monetized incentives then like good ones to do?
Give me an example of what you mean.
Like I've seen one where other customers, they're offering like 20% revenue of the money made from if that person then signs up and subscribes.
Yes, it could be a good one, but usually those are better when the person is already your customer, right? Because they're not even a customer yet. So getting them to refer somebody is challenging, right? It's like, I don't even know how good the thing is because I'm not really using it myself.
Okay, so maybe more like getting like free adverts, get so many free credits or something.
Exactly. So that's kind of like Amazon would do. So Amazon will give you, Amazon Cloud, for example, will give you free credits to
Yeah.
get you started. And then once you've been using it and you're happy with the service, they'll then ask you for a referral or for reviews.
Yeah, they do it with the audio books as well, don't they?
Exactly. Yeah. But if you ask for it upfront, it's going to be difficult because nobody wants to be selling to their friends
Yeah, sure.
you haven't used.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Great questions. Thank you so much for the feedback, guys. I appreciate this feedback. So can you talk a bit more about who would use a use case in a case? Oh yeah, that's more for a case study in a case. So that's more consulting service-based providers, right? So if you offer, say, you help people get into new international markets, people want to see a case study of an example of a company that you helped enter a new market. Does that make sense, Maite?
Yes. Yes, thank you, Yemi. That makes sense.
You're welcome.
Yemi?
So finally, yes.
I have a quick
That's
question.
it.
Going back to the ebook guide, it was a suggestion that one of speakers on a previous session had suggested to me in terms of doing an ebook guide. I'm actually selling recipes online. That's what it's going to be. I thought I could have the ebook guide pointing to Amazon, so I can get the hits on Amazon. The only thing is with Amazon is I'm not going to be able to get their detail. I mean, the idea of Amazon has a large customer base, but the thing is, if I put it on Amazon, I'm not going to be able to know who they are and everything, am I? The CRM details I won't be able to get.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I think the way to do it, Nazia, would be to have, because essentially most people that sell, so your core product, the ebook guide, the recipe book?
Well, it'll be recipes I sell on my own website, right? I'm still wondering whether I should do books or whether I should do individual recipes. I'm still mulling through that at the moment. As a lead magnet, I'm going to do the PDF guide, so it'll be maybe 7 recipes.
Yeah, so with that, of course, I don't think put it on, I think you could do both. Actually, there's nothing stopping you from doing both, because you can put it on Amazon as a free, as a downloadable, because that's part of your awareness. Also put it on your website. So, but when you drive traffic you don't drive traffic to Amazon. You drive traffic to the one that is on your website. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right? Because so that's how I'll do it, because you're right. You want to take advantage of Amazon's thousands or millions of customers, right? So put it in there as an ebook, but in the ebook, make sure, of course, you put your details in there and maybe offer something else in the ebook. You say, book a free, get more recipes, or click here to get more recipes, because you want them to download the book from Amazon, go through it, and then if they like it, follow another link that would then give them more stuff.
Right.
But then that will get them to give you their email address.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
English is difficult at this time of the day.
Great, thank you.
Cool. So yeah, okay. So in terms of tools to consider, social media schedule. So you probably want to have like a scheduler, a post scheduler. The tool I really love is Metrical. By the way, I've got no affiliation to any of these tools. I'm just sharing with you tools that I found useful historically. I really like Metrical. It can schedule lots of different posts across lots of different social medias. It can do reels, it can do videos, it can do text. Like, so one place you put all the posts, schedule it out for a month, and you're good. And you also see all the responses as well aggregated in one tool. So you don't have to go into all the various platforms, because as I mentioned earlier, there's a new platform called Threads. I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but it's the new Twitter by Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook world. By the way, that presents an opportunity as well for us as entrepreneurs, because it's a new platform. There's a lot of Mark Zuckerberg and gang wanting to make it grow, right? So it's probably a good time to get in early, be an early adopter, get as many followers and get more visibility, because right now you're going to get a lot of organic following whilst they're building the tool. So take advantage of it if you haven't already signed up. Again, I've got no affiliation to it, but it's probably worth looking at. The name is called Threads by Instagram. Oh, I can't spell by. But yeah, just Google it. It's like 3 days old. You also need like a landing page or some kind of form. So Nazia, like either your website, or if you don't have a website, there's all these different landing page providers out there. So you've got ClickFunnels, Campaign, High Level. I think High Level is great, by the way, for service businesses. So if you have a service-based businesses, like an agency type business, it's worth checking out High Level. They really aggregate a lot of the tools or the functions that you need. Analytics, this is so important. The number of times I see people trying to run ads and don't have any kind of data on their platform is mind-boggling. So whether or not you're running ads, it's probably worth you getting the pixels of all the various social media sites that you would want to use either now or at some point in the future installed on your website. The only thing to be careful of is the more pixels you have on your website, the slower it may be tested. So install one pixel, test the speed. If it's still fine, then maybe add another one and keep testing until you get to your optimal number of pixels. Because again, speed is a factor when it comes to SEO optimization of your website. So you don't want to have a slow website. I'm looking to a lot of chat engagement to, I don't know, check out Metrical, Nick. I think Metrical also, do you mean commenting on people's profiles, Nick? Let's park that question. Actually, I'll come back to you in a minute. But yeah, let me clarify that point for me. If it's commenting or if it's just posting on people's comments. And then, so analytics important. You also want to make sure you have Google Analytics as well on your website, so you can see traffic, you can see where they're coming from, all that kind of good stuff. Hotjar is a good tool to have. Hotjar is a way for you to see where people's mouse is. Oh God, look at me moving my screen accidentally. But Hotjar is a good way to see a heat map. So you can move their screen through your website or through your app. You can see where they spend more time looking at and where they tend to drop off as well. So you can actually, it records individual sessions of people as well. So you can see how users go through your website. So check it out for analytics. And you need a CRM. So all the things we mentioned, the bulk of that work will be done by your CRM tool, right? So all the way from when you have the lead captured through to whenever, for as long as they're with you, you need a CRM to keep you updated on their journey through your world and what they're doing. So a good CRM is a worthwhile investment. Again, most of those tools have landing pages, CRM, and also email marketing encapsulated in them. And then finally, of course, collecting payments. So your Stripe and your PayPal. The other ones in gray, I suppose, are nice to have. It only depends on the kind of business you do. First two, service only. If you don't do services, you probably don't have to do discovery calls, so don't worry about that. If you are social media if you're e-commerce site, you may want to consider having something like a social proof tool, so like a proof source. You know them websites when you go on and it says like, Tim from London just purchased this product 2 hours ago, kind of, and it has these little pop-ups that come up. That's what this tool does, right? Essentially, it reinforces the fact that people are buying the product and there is social proof that there's demand. So you might want to consider having it. Affiliate tracking and referral tracking. So as you grow again, especially if you're doing e-commerce types, it might be worth having like a tool like Social Snowball. It's a great way to see which affiliate is bringing which customer and manage your affiliates as well if you decide to go down the referral route, the partner route. And finally, chatbots might be a good way for you to nurture your leads as well. So it's when they come on your website, either offer them a lead magnet or offer them like hi, welcome. But the thing with chatbot, of course, chatbots is you want to make sure you get the email addresses as quickly as you can, as upfront as you can. Practical wise, finally, getting to the end of this right now is, I mentioned at the start, right? It's worth you checking out your competitors first and seeing what they're doing, what is standard practice for your industry. You can do that by using a SimilarWeb. There's a tool called SimilarWeb. It's free. You don't have to pay for it. You put in your competitor's website and it can tell you things like the traffic sources. With that, you can see which platforms would make sense for you to spend your time on in terms of getting awareness, because most of your competitors are getting demand from, say, Facebook and not so much on Twitter. Then maybe Facebook is a place for you to go to as a starting point because they've already proven to you that that's where the demand is, right? So where's the traffic sources? It would also tell you the kind of interest people that like your competitors tend to have as well. Again, if you know, for example, most of the people that like your competitors, say, for example, are interested in Tony Robbins or interested in some of the celebrity, you can maybe look to try and incorporate it in your marketing, or it may influence the wording that you use when you write blog articles. And as well, it tells you keywords as well that they tend to search for as well. So it's a good place to start, right? remember what we said, you copy first and then you adapt later. So similar way for that. Second thing is Facebook ads library, super useful. So if anybody's running ads on Facebook, you can actually see it. All you need to go do is go on Facebook, do a search for Facebook ads library, type in the name of the company. It would show you the company and then you can see all the ads. If they're running ads, it will show you all the ads that they're running, which is a very, very useful place to start because you don't have to start to, you at least you know what's working in the market, especially if the ad has been running for a long time. It tells you that the ad is working. So it's worth emulating in your marketing. As we said, there's like 6 steps to this stuff, right? Lots of different tools and techniques you can use. So if you want to visualize this stuff nicely first and plan it out before you start building anything out, a good tool to use is a tool called Funnelytic. It's free. You don't have to pay for it, but it just helps you to visualize all the various steps in the journey. Or you could also use Canva, or you could use pen and paper. It's always worth you mapping it all out nicely on a piece of paper, planning that user journey first before you start building anything out. My parting word of advice, whatever you do, please keep it simple, nice, short and simple. In this world of marketing, there's so many shiny objects and new tools, new platforms that come up every other day. If you're not careful, you just get caught up in like complicating your funnel all the time. As simple as possible first, and then slowly add on things as need be. And that was it. Thank you so much, everybody, for paying attention. I hope this was useful. I know it's kind of gone more than I thought it would go, but can we just open for questions right now? So questions, feedback, what wasn't clear?
Thank you, Yemi. Very interesting.
You're welcome, Nazia.
Very,
I
very
really appreciate
interesting.
that feedback. Thank you. Maite, Radoslav, questions?
Thank you very much, Yemi. I found it very useful. And definitely, it was a lot of content, and this is not a critique. It's just it has made me want to sit down and study a little bit more of how I can develop these for, my business. I'm a little bit behind with the content, but that definitely gives me an idea of, how I could apply these to a proper sales funnel. So thank you very much for giving so much clarity.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for the feedback. Thank you, guys. Okay, if there are no other questions, Nick, I know you're there somewhere. I can't see a video, but any questions from you? Salamatu, same thing to you.
Yeah, sorry, it's my question from earlier about I just meant as in private messaging, when you have a connection and then you can message them directly as opposed to posting a comment on a post.
Oh, I see. I haven't actually used Metrical for that. There are tools to do that, but just so you know, LinkedIn doesn't like that, because you can animate or you can automate all of that stuff. So you can actually automate the connection request and automate messaging. LinkedIn doesn't like it. I think also at the beginning, you probably don't want to do that with messaging people because some people on LinkedIn have like special characters added to their names for this specific reason, because they know that people try to automate stuff. So if you say, hi, Ace, so some people have like ace symbols before their first name. So when you put the automation, it will say, hi, Ace symbol, their name. And that's how they know you've automated it.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking more for like CRM style, like because I already know the companies that I need to talk to. So if there's like 500 companies and I want to contact all their founders, just being able to sort of manage those messages and how that works through the funnel. Just because I've seen like on some CRMs you can kind of like manage the messaging or like.
I see what you mean. Okay, no, I see what you mean. No, Metrical doesn't do that. Maite just told you can use LinkedIn Navigator, but it's very limited. I mean, it doesn't have like a cool, it's still very manual. But tools like HubSpot has good integration to LinkedIn. I think Apollo.io, check it. I've not actually used it myself, but I think it does this. I'm typing it up here for you. Apollo.io.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Has good integration to LinkedIn as well. So you can manage your contacts from there.
Okay, thank you.
For me, it's not a question. It's not a question. It's just a comment, and obviously, it's just a budget. When you don't have the funding or the finance to do this thing, it can be very complicated and a bit slow as well when it comes to progressing your business. In terms of CRM, I do use Keep. I don't know if you've heard of Keep. It used to be that one.
I know
That's
Keep.
what I use. Yeah.
Infusionsoft.
Yes, Infusionsoft. Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's not really, it's just the budget because I don't have the money right now to do some of those things. But I'm looking to do a discount offer where I'll give certain amount of discounts for people because I do web design. So I'm looking into do that. So how do you think, or what would you comment on in order for me to go about this?
Yeah, no, thank you for raising that. Great point. By the way, you don't have to, if budget is a problem, you don't have to have a system for CRM at the early stages. Spreadsheets work perfectly fine. Word documents work perfectly fine as well. Just stay on top of it. Because Metrical has a good generous free plan, by the way, for if you wanted to post on social media, you can use Metrical. The free plan will work perfectly fine.
Yeah, I do. They only do that for one social media account. So if you want more,
Is
you
it
have
what?
to pay.
Oh, they've changed it. Oh, they changed it.
Yeah,
Okay. It's been a
it's
while
only
since I
for
used the
one.
free one. And then in terms of your free offer, because you're offering website, you can offer so do they already have websites?
That's the thing. I'm looking for people that don't have a website.
Okay.
Targeting cleaning companies, commercial cleaning companies. So that's another thing where I'm looking into approaching them as well. Obviously need information in order for me to approach them and where to approach them as well and how to approach them as well.
With that, it might be a bit of a sell-ish because one of the things I didn't cover is when you're looking at your target customers, you want to look at 4 things: is can they pay for your services? Do they care about solving the problem? Are they easy to find? Is it also a growing customer base? Those are the 4 things that you want to consider when you choose your ideal target customer. They can probably afford to pay. I don't know if they care that much about the problem because it could be that people don't actually get websites for getting websites sake. They get websites because it's going to get them customers. I'm not sure how you would, I don't know if for them, like having an online presence is a big enough deal.
Right.
So it's probably worth you spending some time on working out what's the pain point. Please, sorry, God, I'm speaking over you.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so it might be worth you spending some time. I'm not saying it's not a good idea, but I think you probably want to spend some time working out what's the pain point the business owner has. Because people don't just want to have a website for having website's sake. It's like the website is a means to an end.
Well, I'm looking at ways where they can have, obviously they need the online presence, but then obviously they need a system where people can easily contact them and have an easy way for them to manage their booking system or their sales process, so they don't have to go through a lot of talking on the phone, but there's a system in place for them to do business with other business or people using their service.
Amazing. So that's different to what you said, because what you said is website before. But now we're now talking more about like almost like a CRM, like an internal CRM for them. So this is why I think it's important to really be clear on the pain that you're trying to solve.
Sure.
Because just the website by itself, I don't know, it might not be a strong enough pain point. Because if what you're selling to them is a CRM tool, then you may want to like pick up the phone and call them individually and talk them through what you have to offer and do it slowly, because they probably don't have LinkedIn.
Right.
Or unless they may have if they have LinkedIn, then try to use LinkedIn. Or maybe they're already on Instagram and you can message them individually on Instagram.
Okay, I think it's something I need to think about. Okay, no problem. Thank you anyway. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. And I know we're overrunning. Samantha says, feel free to drop off, but I'm happy to stay for a few more minutes if people have questions. Otherwise, happy for us to end it there. Any more questions? And it looks like you guys have homework as well. Fill out the form.
Is it really homework? Literally going to take 1 minute. But yeah, I guess if there's not any more questions, we're just going to wrap up. Thank you so much. Yeah. That was really clear, very well structured. And I think that was like, exactly what a lot of people wanted to know about sales funnel. So thank you for that. The recording will be up soon and I'll send it to you. And to everyone else, on Monday, there's an in-person networking session with Samantha. Unfortunately, I won't be there because I'm too far from you. But yeah, if you want to, drop by, just let us know. And also on Tuesday, we're going to have a session about financial planning before launching your business with Nana, who's like a serial entrepreneur. So yeah, do come for that one. And I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.